You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Sit back, enjoy the show. Paul Paslakis, welcome to another episode of Inside Real Estate. You've got myself and Mr. Tom Lauer doing the show today. For those of you that have found us again, thank you for coming back. For those of you coming here for the first time, please sit back and listen to the show. You can find us on Facebook /IRE Podcast. You can also go to irepodcast.com. You can go to any podcast streaming app that you decide to use to listen to us. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to not miss an episode. And also leave us a review. It really does help out. So today we have a really special guest. His name is Erik Wright from Social House here in Metro Detroit. Erik has done a really good job utilizing social media and digital marketing for his firm. They've really blown it out over the last few years. And so we'll talk to him a little bit about that. We'll talk to him about his feelings on the market, and also talk to him a little bit about his firm and what their plans are going forward. But first and foremost, sir, welcome to the show, Mr. Erik Wright, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome. So, obviously, you've been in the game for some time. You've been on the show before, so I don't want to go into like your whole background. If anybody wants to hear that, they can go back and listen to the old show. But I want to talk to you about what you're doing now because I'm really interested. You guys are really utilizing social media and digital media at a really high level. So, talk to me about kind of the mentality of why you started going down that direction at the beginning, a few years ago, and then probably more than a few years ago. How long has it been now?
About 8 years now.
8 years.
Yeah,
So I'm way off.
Half,
Yeah, I'm way off. So what made you decide to go down that path of hey, I'm going to go digital, I'm going to go social, I'm going to really focus on that more than anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously know way more now than I knew then.
Yeah.
So a lot's evolved over time. But at that time, when I was 24, 25 years old, I was actually working at a company in Livonia called Velasquez Communications.
Yep.
And they were the #1 print marketing distributor in the country at the time.
Yep.
So I was basically doing all the back-end data analytics and targeting for all those direct mail campaigns.
Got it.
That's what my wife does.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's at Velasquez?
Not anymore.
Oh, okay.
She's at Sam's Club now, but same thing, data analytics. And yeah, that's cool. It's a cool job. You learn a lot there, huh?
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge numbers and data guy. I love it. But the biggest part was I was still living at home with my parents at the time. And I was doing all that back-end data analytics and targeting for not just, realtors, but McDonald's and Burger King and a lot of food service companies.
Right.
And got a lot of firsthand exposure to just how, in my opinion, ineffective and inefficient that medium of marketing was.
There you go.
And
all right.
And I was seeing all these realtors spend upwards of $100,000 a year on that strategy, like individually, and then I'd go home and see my parents not even give it a second look.
Not even look at it, just go right to the garbage.
Exactly. And a lot of the artwork on those two, they are all identical. So it's like you could be getting great information from these postcards that you're getting, but all 7 of them that you received that day look exactly the same. So you're not even noticing who the realtor is on it. You're just noticing what the information is on it pertaining to your neighborhood.
Sure.
And so I started to kind of just start to look into the industry more. I had a couple of buddies that were in real estate making good money and, more than I was making at my first job out of college. And I just became a little more curious and realized the average age in the United States is 52 years old.
Yep.
So
right. Yeah,
our parents' age, maybe a little bit younger. My parents are 60 now, but
right.
That being said, I saw a big opportunity to bring my tech background and social media background into this industry where it wasn't really being utilized, and thankfully it worked.
Yeah. So tell me about how it's working. Yeah, when you say it worked, what is it? Can you quantify that?
Yeah. So, just for context, I think traditionally the average ROI on marketing spend for a real estate agent is about 2 to 1. You spend $1, you're making 2.
Right.
And that's all predicated on like billboards and direct mail and these very high cost marketing mediums. Whereas my historical ROI is closer to 6 to 7x. So every dollar I spend on Facebook, I pretty consistently am making at least $6 to $7.
Wow.
That was much higher back in the day before I was spending the amount that I'm spending now.
Sure.
Of course, as you get to a certain level, it starts to kind of
it's harder to gain market share
a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
But still, needless to say, if I told you if you open $1,000 into something, you're going to make $6-7 grand, almost like down to a science, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so that was like the biggest thing for me, was just kind of being able to see that ROI after a little bit of time. It took 7-8 months to really start to see any type of return. And most sane people, if you spend money for 3 or 4 months and you don't make a dime,
you're jumping out of it.
You're gonna quit. And I think that's the reason why adoption's still been so low, because
Correct.
Across the industry, because you don't have somebody like me that's just constantly drilling it into your ear 24/7, saying consistency to do it.
Right.
But that's really been the biggest thing. And, I think that's where this industry really lacks, is that, brokers actually adding value to their agents, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah.
I think all these brokerages, they teach you a lot about real estate, but at the end of the day, you don't really need to know anything about real estate to build a business.
Sure.
You need to understand how to sell, how to prospect, how to get in front of people, how to brand yourself. And that's really always been my skill set. And that's what we're trying to now, deliver to our agents, to help them build their brand and think more bottom up. And from the sense of, most brokerages are very top down thinking. They try to build up their brokerage, their brand, in the hope that it helps their agents. Whereas I look at it the opposite way. If I can help each one of my agents individually build their own brand and business and become successful, that of course is going to organically get exposure for Social House and roll up to the company as a whole.
Well, it's like a multiplier, right? You're multiplying the efforts throughout the whole brokerage.
Right.
And that's it's like, 50 voices over one voice is always going to win out, in my opinion.
Exactly.
So, talk to me a little bit about the learning curve of getting into the social side of it, and using that to and you're utilizing that to build leads that are coming in, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And so talk to me about the learning curve on that, because I think that's, to your point, I think the adoption is low. It's crazy low, in my opinion, in this field. So what was the learning curve like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning every day. One interesting thing, as I'm sure you guys are aware, is like these social media platforms are evolving every single day.
Every day.
They're rolling out new regulations, new things you can and cannot target. So I'm still constantly learning, but in the grand scheme of it, generally speaking, it's actually very easy to learn.
Yeah.
The problem isn't like the skill it takes to like actually do it. It's more so just understanding how like discouraging social media can be for a few reasons. One is, I have almost 40,000 people that like my Facebook page, my business page.
That's a lot.
If I threw something up on there without boosting it, or meaning spending any money on it, it might reach like 2,000 to 3,000 people.
Correct.
Because Facebook wants to incentivize you to spend money,
Correct.
And Instagram's a little bit better in the sense that like you can get a lot more organic reach by leveraging like Reels and their new features that they've been rolling out. But it can be discouraging in that sense, because, you could have tons of followers and posts and not really get in front of anybody.
Yeah.
And so if you're not spending money, and you're not spending money consistently and trusting it, it's really easy to quit.
Yeah.
So I think from like a learning standpoint, it's really not hard to use. I could teach you everything I know in 3 hours.
So why aren't more people utilizing it?
I think it's twofold. It's one, they don't have people, like I think, at least in real estate, going back to just the average demographic in this industry.
Yeah.
Most of these brokers, it's not because they don't want to teach their agents. They just don't know. They don't know what to teach them. They don't know where to start. They rely on a lot of these third-party marketing companies to like generate leads and manage their Facebook page, which don't recommend to anybody. It's all BS.
Yeah.
Because so I think it's really just like that gap in knowledge for brokers, where they don't necessarily know what to teach or how to teach it. And so their agents, of course, think about like the parent-kid relationship. If the parent doesn't know something, the kid's most likely not going to either A, want to go explore it and learn it,
right,
or B, they're not going to have the tools and resources to do so.
Right.
And so I think that's probably the biggest reason. And then just the fact that it's a relatively slow-moving animal in the sense of actually starting to see a return. But
yeah, that's the tough part, right? I think a lot of people they like the shiny object. They go after the shiny object. The shiny object gets dull after a couple of months, and it becomes work or whatever it may be, and you can't figure it out, or it's not getting the results that you want, and you're out.
Right.
And you can't really do that in this world, can you?
Exactly. I mean, it's really just the difference of like, you can be a real estate agent or you can be a business owner. You can be successful and happy doing both. You know, and I think of like a real estate agent as someone that's more so like you're relying solely on referral leads and sphere of influence and, past clients coming back to you, which is totally fine. Like I know people that make a really good amount of money doing something like that. But in my eyes, at that point, you're a real estate agent. You know, if you're actually building a business, that requires like building up a brand, you know, having a predictable revenue model, whereas this industry is almost, you know, that doesn't exist.
Right.
But that's the beauty of social media, to the extent to where every December I set my goals for the upcoming year, and I break it down quarterly. And last year in 2021, of the goals I set in 2020, I was within 1 to 2 units every single quarter.
What kind of goals? What kind of goals do you set? Like, give me an example of what were some of your goals.
Yeah, so I usually start. So I'm huge on analytics. So like I look at it from the perspective. I start with my volume goal, or my commission goal rather.
Okay.
And then based on my average commission percentage over the last 3 years, I figure out this is how much volume I need to sell. And then based on my average unit and the average year-over-year growth, this is how many units I'll need to sell. And so then what I do is I look at it proportionally over the last I use 3 years typically as kind of like my rule of thumb there. I look over the last 3 years and see what proportion of my total volume units and commission came in each quarter. And then I'm able to then break that down quarterly for how many units I want to sell, how much volume I want to sell. And then of course, as a result, how much commission I'm going to make. And then based on that commission, that's how I start to break down my ad budget for Facebook.
Okay.
But it's become so predictable that it's allowed me to say, as long as I'm consistent and stick to what I say I'm going to spend on Facebook, the output is going to be damn near spot on with what I think it's going to be.
It's scientific.
So
at this
with
point.
with Facebook, obviously that's changed with their targeting and everything. So you're probably still seeing pretty decent numbers, even with the change in the targeting.
Yeah, and like in a weird way, I think it's actually helped.
Okay.
I was worried about it just because, like, you know, when you can't, the less you can target, the more you're getting in front of people you just don't want to get in front of. But what I've found is, I mean, and this could just be a product of like my business just growing naturally anyways, and, you know, getting more organic reach because I have more people that, you know who I am on Facebook.
Yeah.
But I found that being able to target a little bit less has allowed me to actually get in front of more people, because
by accident, happy accidents, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, you know, I'm not necessarily just trying to get in front of that end buyer or that end seller. I can get in front of their friends, their family, their colleagues, anyone that knows they may be moving or buying or selling in the future. And so I think it's allowed me to like get in front of more people, as long as you still know which types of criteria you want to build in, because you still can factor certain things in, like, you know, Zillow and realtor.com and mortgage calculator. Like there's a bunch of different variables that you can still plug in that tie back to people wanting to buy or sell.
How important is figuring out the audience and figuring out the right audience to go after?
I mean, in real estate, it's probably the least important. And the only reason I say that is because essentially anybody over the age of 18 is a potential client for us. Right. So like, you know, there's obviously different things you're going to want to build in, but the cool thing about Facebook is despite some of the limitations of targeting, they still have just such a robust catalog of criteria that you can factor in.
They do.
So like I had a listing in Plymouth last year, for instance, where it was like super eclectic, like very unique, artistic. And so rather than just using my generic, you know, Zillow and all these other targeting, I knew it was going to be a very specific buyer. So I was able to build in like art, interior design, like different factors like that tie in specifically for that home to get in front of people that may just be inspired by like some of the cool artwork and some of the cool design elements, share it on their page, and then we find a buyer that way.
So is that where you're getting a lot of your content, is just the listings themselves, or do you have like another like playbook for content?
Yeah, so admittedly, like I hate being on camera. I hate it.
Right.
I've gotten more comfortable with it just by, you know, like I have to.
Right.
So I've just recently started making more branding content, but up until probably a year or two ago, it was solely just these listing ads I run on my Facebook page.
Well, I mean, that's what the people want, really. You know, they like market updates and things like that. But when I look at posts that we do, it's overwhelmingly the engagement is much higher when you're showing a house versus showcasing a realtor or a testimonial or something like that. All that other stuff is good. It probably needs to be there if someone's going to try to check into you. But it seems like the actual house and the listing is what drives most of the views and comments and engagement.
Yeah, and I've been reading a lot too, just in terms of like, you know, what types of content do people want to see, what types of content should be sharing. And the interesting thing about real estate is I tell my agents this all the time. It's like, it should realistically probably be like 30% real estate, 70% nothing to do with real estate.
Okay.
And the reason for that is it ties back to just your general audience is pretty much everybody. And so a lot of the content we make now, and I look at Facebook and Instagram as two totally different platforms from the standpoint of Facebook's going to be like your lead gen business development.
Okay.
That's where I advertise all my listings. Instagram's where I build my brand. So Instagram's where I'm putting out the listing videos. I'm putting out these like business spotlight tours, restaurants, coffee shops, doing different things like that, because I think most people that have Facebook likely have Instagram and vice versa.
Right.
So when they're seeing you on two different avenues, but not with redundant content, they start to tie those two things together and they see your brand being built up through Instagram. And then it's much more engaging on Facebook when they see you pop up consistently because they've been seeing your videos and, your face and getting to know you.
Right.
And, I'm not one to say like those market updates aren't good content, but they're not. I think it's just like if you see a dozen other realtors doing the same thing, it's probably not.
It's not where you want to be.
Yeah, it's probably, and it's not to say like don't do it. Like if it takes you 30 seconds to put together, like still do it all day.
Something's better than nothing.
Right. But like I think one thing that I would just encourage everybody to do, and I've been doing it myself as well recently. Like I wish I would have done this 8 years ago. Is just don't worry about being uncomfortable and awkward on camera and just do it and just start putting out more content. And always think about, no matter what you're putting out, whether it's a meme, whether it's a video, whether it's just a generic post, like always ask yourself, what value is somebody looking at this getting out of it? Don't think about how it's going to benefit you or how it's going to convert somebody into a lead. But if you start to think about like from every single post, every post should have some purpose. You shouldn't just be posting something to check a box. So like every post should have some value being added to the person seeing it. And if there's not, reevaluate that and find out a way for it to do so.
Yeah.
Whether that's like we're starting a company called Social House News. It's going to be a local news company. My dad's our editor in chief. He used to work for the Detroit Free Press for 25 years. And the idea behind it is we just want to provide more value. We want to, become a local news source that's just focused on all positive news.
Right. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. And as a result, it gives a bunch of great, thank you. And it gives us a bunch of great content, but it's also organically going to, over time, create just our own marketing platform that we own all the advertising rights to.
Right.
If we can build this thing up to something that's competitive with like a, Deadline Detroit or Detroit Free Press, that's really exponential to what we can do from the standpoint of like leveraging that platform for our agents to build our brand, to get lead flow, to be able to say, hey, if you list your house with Social House, you get exclusive advertising rights on the Detroit Free Press, for example, but it'd be Social House News. That's something that's really going to help our agents differentiate themselves, as well as just put more positivity out to the world and give our guys, much better content to share.
Smart play.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've noticed recently that you guys have been doing a lot of content that is not real estate related directly, right? Mm-hmm. You're doing a lot of like restaurant stuff. You're doing reviews on restaurants. You're doing some different content with your people in the office, which is
their
awesome.
Memes are great. I love their memes. They're very original.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. So I guess in my mind, it's like, okay, these guys are moving away from almost being a real estate company and just being an information company almost.
Yeah. Like I always tell, I tell pretty much everybody, like I view us more as a marketing company than anything.
Right.
Which is ironically where real estate lacks. Most agents are really just throwing the house on the MLS and hoping it sells. And luckily basically since I've been in the business, I've been lucky. The market's been great. But I think now these next like 12 to 24 months, it's going to be like judgment day for a lot of people, brokers and agents alike, where you're going to really start to see which brokers are actually doing something for their agents to build their business, because it's not going to be, I don't think it's ever been easy per se, but there's no way you could argue with me and say the last 2 years haven't been the easiest 2 years to make money in real estate. Like if you're confident, so it's like,
right.
So, but now the market's really dying down a ton. I do think that you're going to see a huge shift where a lot of people are just going to be like, well, shit, like I haven't done anything the last, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Sorry.
You can swear.
Where do I swear?
The last like 2 or 3 years, they're like, I haven't built my brand at all. No one knows who I am except for my friends and family. Mm-hmm. And then interest rates are 6%. And they're like, I don't know where to go for leads.
Right.
So I think you're going to see a lot of movement across the industry, a lot of agents just getting, probably 25 to 30% of agents just getting out of the industry altogether, probably another 25 to 30% moving around brokerages, and then a lot of brokers probably just completely disintegrating over time as well, because they're
just not offering the value,
right infrastructure.
Eric, you brought up a good point about the broker adding value to the agents, right? Like that's how we look at at our agents, they're our clients, right? So when you have an agent that maybe doesn't really know the social media game or understand how to get into content creation, like how do you flex that? Like what are you doing to help bring that person along? Are you just showing the tools and teaching? Are you doing it for them? Like what does that look like if you have an agent that wants to step up their game?
Yeah, so from the Facebook standpoint, which is obviously like our bread and butter, so we actually fully automate that for our team. So like all those listing posts that you see on Facebook, how homes that are being advertised are sourced by our marketing team. They're the ones that are like reaching out to the listing agent if it's not our listing and asking permission to post it, which we always do. And anybody that is advertising homes always asks permission. You're going to be told no, but that's okay. Just never want to like go do it without asking.
Right.
But we're
which
the ones,
a lot of people do.
Exactly. But we're the ones that actually find them. We post them, we boost them for you based on whatever your budget is for the ad. And then we're actually responding to every single comment on there as well.
Oh, wow.
We have a software that does it. It's just automated, which is nice. But our agent's only real responsibility on Facebook is to just like manage their inbox. And we give them all the tools for messaging and, converting leads and everything. We're rolling out this 90-day prospecting boot camp with Justin Ford and Glover U right now to all our agents as well.
Yeah.
So just really trying to give them all the tools, more so just to convert the business and not have to worry about like the mundane task of posting homes. And then on the Instagram side of things, we're starting to do, this is something we're rolling out actually in the process right now, where we're going to have like Friday content days where we have Adam, who's our content manager. He's the one that any of our agents can come in, go around the city with him, whichever city it may be, and create content, these business spotlights, do some point and shoot videos, just getting to know the, individual themselves, whoever the agent is. But really just trying to give them all the tools and resources and support to learn how to do it with us, to where eventually, hope in a perfect world, they'll all be self-sufficient at some point,
right,
and be able to just rock on their own and go make videos and
how big is your admin team right now?
We've got we just hired a new lead graphic designer. I want to say we've got around 11 or 12 people on our team, and then we've got about 32 to 35 agents.
Okay,
so approaching that like 50 person mark.
Yeah, that's it. That's wild.
So I just, you guys are so good at the social game. I'm staying in that vein. There is so many shiny objects out there, right? So what do you find as a broker? What do you find is the best tool that you have for social media? I mean, obviously not the platforms themselves, but is it like a Hootsuite, or is there some tool that you really think is like helping you guys do what you do on social?
Yeah, so I personally, like, I've always just done it all manually myself. But like, of course, now my team, they use the software. God, we have like two softwares that are named damn near the same thing. I want to say it's Loomly. Is our like CMS system, our content management system,
right?
Where you can schedule posts, you can boost posts through that, you can do literally everything through that. So it does help with automation, and like, so you could schedule a post for tomorrow at 5 o'clock and it'll automatically go out. You don't have to worry about doing that. The only downside that we've learned recently is that if you are if you're not a business page, Instagram won't let you schedule posts.
Interesting.
And the thing is, if you are a business page on Instagram, you can't use any mainstream music. However, if you're a creator page, you can. But the creator pages don't let you schedule out. But unless you're really pumping out just like a insane amount of content, it's really not that overbearing to manage. But I think Loomly's the name of it. But like I've used Hootsuite before. I've played with like HubSpot before. At some previous companies.
So what you were talking about is like you don't mirror the content you're posting on Facebook and Instagram because you want to be more omnipresent. You want to see a different picture of you on Instagram than you do on Facebook.
Right.
I feel like a lot of those sites they just kind of aggregate that one post out amongst all platforms, right? So
we're spot on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people with content, they're just trying to check a box. They're trying to be able to say they use social media. Right. They're trying to be able to say like, okay, I put 3 pieces of content out this week, but did that content really add any value? And that's where you see just like, hey, I'm just going to post on both platforms. And by all means, like there is some stuff that I will throw up on both, but I think for the most part, if you were to look at my business page on Facebook and my Instagram page, it's pretty separate. And that there's a reason for that. It's kind of to your point, just to where it's like, all right, it's going to be houses on Facebook, because I know that if I don't boost something on Facebook, it's probably not going to get in front of that many people anyways.
Right.
So it's like I could post all these things that I'm posting on Instagram on Facebook, but why, if they're just going to get in front of like 1,000 people or 1,100 people, whereas I can boost these home ads and get in front of 50,000 people with that one ad.
I was about to ask, how many people can you get in front of with that one ad?
Yeah. So, I mean, my page itself reaches probably around like 750,000 people per month.
Wow.
It was higher than that. I've scaled my spend back a little bit. I'm honestly trying to step back from production a little bit in the near future.
Yeah.
But you can probably reach around like 40,000 to 50,000 people if you spend about $250-$200 on an ad.
So you guys obviously do a really good job of filling the funnel with probably a lot of people that you haven't met, right? Mm-hmm. Are you using social in any way to engage your closed clients, past clients? Do you look at them any differently when it comes to social, or is it just kind of there in the bucket, they're going to get the same stuff?
To an extent. So like what I always do, whenever I have a client, of course, I'm adding them on Facebook and things like that. So like on my personal page, there's a little bit different stuff going on.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, like the biggest value in that, just ensuring that you're like following all your clients and adding all your clients, is like you can start just staying in front of them super organically, where, if your kid has a T-ball game and you just like the post or comment and say, good luck, Paul, or whatever the kid's name is,
makes a difference.
Right.
It just stays in front of them organically without you really trying to sell anything. But I think that's probably the primary aspect of that. But like what I've found is that Facebook not only helps with just Facebook leads, Facebook helps with everything. Facebook helps build your brand and get your, if you're a cold call guy, and, I saw Justin pop up on the screen there. Like Justin and I were talking about this the other day, where it's like, if you're solely relying on cold calls for business, or that's what so many people just absolutely kill it. Like Justin being one of them, that's where he generates, I would guess probably 90% of his business, and he's so good at it.
Right.
But just imagine if you're calling these people and then they pick up the phone and they hear Erik Wright or Justin Ford or, whatever your name is. And they've been seeing you on Facebook for the last 6 months too.
Right.
Your name's just naturally going to stand out a little bit more than like every other agent from Keller Williams, every other agent from Social House, from EXP, whatever it is, if they're not leveraging social media.
Correct.
And so it really just amplifies all those other ones, including past client referrals and things like that. Because, say you and I work together at some time and you now follow my Facebook page, you're going to be seeing all those ads. And I'd guess that you're probably going to be liking a handful of them. And then what Facebook does is if Paul likes my ad, it's going to show it to all Paul's friends.
Right.
And so when Paul's friends consistently see Paul liking this ad, they're probably more likely to reach out to him and say, hey, you keep liking Erik's ads. Like, did you work with him to buy a home, to sell your home, whatever it may be? Like, how was your experience? And so you may never like tie those referrals directly back to Facebook, but a lot of them come because of Facebook and because of that brand you're building up through that, and just the engagement from past clients and things like that.
So we have a controversial question that always comes up, it seems like, with agents.
All right.
Facebook page, business page, or Facebook personal page,
right,
or both?
So you can't have a business page if you don't have a personal page.
Right.
So, but you can't boost anything if you don't have a business page. Like
okay.
They
just changed that, because I just got offered a creator thing on my personal, and I could boost.
Oh, really?
it. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'll show it to you later.
That must be like Instagram kind of then.
Yeah, so they gave me an opportunity to, like, I can see there's insights, there's boosting available now on my personal.
And that's on your personal.
Really? Okay.
Interesting.
Well, honestly, that's news to me. I just learned something today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, up to this point, like I've always had a business page. It allows you to kind of separate personal and business too.
Sure.
I'm not one to post on social media really to begin with, anyways. Like if it's not for business, but
yeah,
I know a lot of people are very divulged into social media on a daily basis, and I personally hate social media, ironically.
I know. Yeah.
Well, you do it for work, right? It's your job. So
yeah, I feel
you probably hate it in your personal life.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
You really see the worst of the world on Facebook and Instagram.
You do
if you use it enough. So
yeah.
So yeah, I try to stay off it. But yeah, I mean, I mean, if they did roll out a new like creator suite for personal pages, who knows, you may not necessarily need a business page, but as far as my knowledge goes right now, I mean, I've always had a business page, and would suggest starting a business page. And Instagram, of course, is nice because you don't have to. Like, you can just be a creator, you can be a business, you can be personal, all within the same platform,
right?
So, but yeah, as of now, I would still recommend getting a business page.
Awesome.
So I'm a new agent, and I'm in this market right now. What am I looking for in a brokerage? What should a brokerage be offering me right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question. I think first things first, I mean, obviously somebody that has some wherewithal when it comes to like social media and brand building and business strategy. And if you go up to a brokerage and you say, how am I going to get business? And they only list off the normal cold calls, direct mail, Zillow, realtor.com, sphere of influence, that's probably not the brokerage for you. Because a lot of those mediums of marketing are going to slowly start to fall off, especially in a dying market like we're in,
right?
Where those are all very high cost, whereas, statistically, like for direct mail, you have to send 8 mailers to the same 300 people to get one phone call.
Correct.
And that's not even a lead. That's not even a client. It's just a phone call. Then
Correct.
you have to convert that call. And so that's probably costing you at least $1,000, probably more.
Right. Than that,
right. Whereas, and that's just 300 people. Whereas with Facebook, I pay about $8.68 for every 1,000 people I get in front of.
Wow.
And so when you look at it from that perspective, just understanding how to leverage these social platforms effectively, it's such a lower cost type of marketing to where it's very easy to sustain even in a slower market because you're not having to invest quite as much money. So I think that's the biggest thing is just finding somebody that does understand social media. I think that's going to over time become an expectation for sellers, where I think we're already at that point where like I mean, I'm sure you guys see it. Like I see it every day. All these listing agents only offering 2%, 2.5%.
Right.
And that's because these sellers are starting to realize like, all you do is throw my house on the internet for me. I can do that myself.
Right.
So why am I paying you $15,000 to sell my $500,000 house? And so I think you're going to see one of two things happening. Either people are going to start to that commission is just going to keep going down, which it should, honestly, if all you're doing is throwing the house in the MLS, or alternatively, we actually figure out ways to add value and market their properties.
Right.
And by leveraging paid ads on social media.
And then you'll see a separation between the low cost listings versus the full commission listings that are being marketed properly. You'll see a difference in overall sale price, list to sale price.
You should.
I mean, you really should, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to see that in the last market that we've had where buyer demand is so high, it doesn't matter.
It didn't matter. Yeah.
Right.
It was so
but
crowded.
Now when we're flipping the script on the market and we actually have to sell these products, these homes that we have, it's going to matter.
Yeah.
The marketing is going to matter again.
Oh yeah, I absolutely. And like, that's the thing people have been able to get away with it the last few years.
Right.
And now I think you're going to see this massive shift to where marketing, like you said, really does matter. So I think that'll be the first and biggest thing. And then the other thing is just kind of finding a brokerage that really understands like the value of your time and isn't afraid to invest into you by adding support and technology and things that are going to make your job a lot easier. And that's really what we focus on at Social House, is understanding like, all right, like that's how I've always lived my life, is every hour of my day has some value to it.
Right.
So if I paid some guy $150 come out to my 2 TVs for me, because I'm like, that's going to take my dumb ass 3 hours, whereas this guy can do it in an hour and a half, maybe.
There's value to that.
And I can work during that time. Yeah. So like,
what's your dollar per hour?
Exactly.
Really, it comes down to it. How much are you worth per hour? It's more than 150, right?
Exactly. And so like, then from that standpoint, kind of translating that same concept to our agents, where we understand that in order for you to scale a business in real estate, you have to constantly find new efficiencies. Otherwise, you're going to always hit a plateau,
right?
Especially if you're a buyer's agent. And so that's where just finding a brokerage that offers a bunch of tech that you're not necessarily having to pay for on a monthly basis either. I know a lot of brokerages have like monthly fees and tech fees and desk fees and things like that. We don't have any of that. We're just a cap. That's all it is. And everything's included. But just finding companies that are leveraging new technology and offering new technology and, support. A lot of the support you may not even feel the benefits of until you get to a certain point. But if you're at the right brokerage, you'll get to that point.
Yeah.
I have agents that tell me like, I don't really need a TC because I'm only doing 8 to 10 deals a year. I'm like, well, yeah, you might not think so, but
you had one, you might be doing 15.
Yeah. And like, even if that saves you an hour a week, that's 52 hours a year.
It's a lot
that you now get back. That's over a week. You're literally getting back to do other things. So I think once you can really start to evolve your concept of time and like understand like that, no matter what you're doing, even if you have nothing to do, your hour is still worth something.
Absolutely.
Somebody told me that when I was trying to get that through to them, is they were like, well, I don't have anything to do, so why that my hour's not worth anything? I was like, that's bullshit.
It's still worth something. Yeah.
If you're sitting on the couch all day watching 7 episodes of Stranger Things, like you just wasted a lot of money. I know it didn't cost you anything in your mind, but like you just wasted a lot of money that day because that you could have been doing so many other things that are, generating revenue or generating clients or building your brand or value or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I'm a new agent getting into this market right now, or I'm just I'm an agent that wants to get into social media, but I'm not built up yet. I don't have the following. Where do I start? You know what I mean? Like, where do I turn to? Do I start at Facebook and just start liking things and try to get more following? Do I go to Instagram? Where does a new agent kind of start to try to build some online repertoire?
Yeah, so I would definitely start with Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
And they complement each other very well, because Instagram, you can get a lot of great organic reach.
Yeah.
Like these little, business spotlight tours and home tours that I post, like those get anywhere from 5 to 20,000 views organically.
Wow.
And I think, like, I don't have that many followers, like 4,000, which I guess might be more than some, but it's
right.
like, I mean, those are that's organic. That's just me spending some time going out and making these videos.
Yeah.
If I were to boost an actual video on Instagram, it gets in front of 1,000 or 2,000 people with $100 spend.
Right.
And I'm not having to spend a penny on that. So you can create a lot of great organic content on Instagram, and then just find a way to carve out some budget on Facebook. You need to. And I don't care how broke you think you are. When I got into this, I was a 24-year-old. I was broke as hell. I had probably $80,000 in debt between like credit cards and student loans and everything like that, and had maybe $2,000 in the bank, and had a couple credit cards for, I don't know, like $2,000 of available balance. And I started spending $10 a day, and then start to incrementally build that up. So start with something. You can call Comcast and Verizon and probably get your bill down $100 collectively between the two, and that's your budget.
Right.
Just find a way.
How long do you boost your post for?
Usually 4 to 5 days.
4 to 5 days?
Yeah.
You just bang it out?
95% of them. Well, I mean, that's just me. I've found that after that 4 to 5 day mark, at least for the home ads, A, these things sell pretty damn quickly right now. But B, I just found that like it was starting to, there's a ton of great analytics on Facebook when you go into like your insights tab, and it'll show you frequency. And that means how many times each individual is seeing this. And once that starts to get up to 2 or even over like 1.5 times, that's where you're starting to become very redundant. And I found that like after that 4 or 5 day mark, it's starting to repeat a lot more.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it to 4 or 5 days. Not to say that's right or wrong. I'm sure people have had success with longer periods, but Facebook usually tells you like 4 days is probably the minimum you want, because that first day is, depending on how new you are to the platform, Facebook's like ad approval process is a little bit slower.
Yeah.
For those that may just start running ads. And so like your first day may be totally shot. So you at least want to run it for 4 days. Yeah. Ideally like 4 to 5, depending on how much you're spending, just to maximize the exposure.
Now, do you wait for a post to gain traction a little bit before you boost it, or do you just boost it right off the bat?
I boost it right off the bat.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it takes probably like, for me, it's pretty immediate now because I've spent a decent amount of money on Facebook. So Facebook just like approves it right off the rip.
Yeah.
But like for the agents, it's, most of our agents that are just starting out, they might have 100 or 200 people that like their page. So the organic reach they're going to get is virtually nothing,
it's not happening
until they boost. But once you boost it, that's where you could have your followers don't really matter that much. The likes on your page, the followers really don't mean that much.
Right.
On Facebook, at least, yeah.
not on the advertising platform. They get in front of a lot more people.
Right. Yeah. It's really all just about boosting. Like you could have 200 followers or 200 likes on your page, and I could have 40K, and we both spent $200. And I bet we're within 10% of each other in terms of how many people we reach.
That's interesting.
Because it's more predicated on the amount you're spending versus, having 100,000 likes or 200,000 likes. I remember I went to this advertising meeting one time with it was one of the news companies. It might have been like Channel 4 or something, or ABC, I don't remember. But they were trying to get me to like spend money. Like me being naive, I was younger at the time, and like I thought I was like, oh cool, they want to like do a story on me or something. I get there and they're like, yeah, we want to sell you advertising on our like local 4 page or whatever. And
we're gonna do a spotlight on you, but it's gonna cost you 10,000.
Yeah, and like they had like a few hundred thousand likes or whatever on there, and I was like, all right. And I was like, well, are you guys like, okay, it's like $7,000 or something just absurd.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you guys like investing some of this into boosting? They go, no. I'm like, all right, well, I know what these algorithms look like. I might get in front of 20 to 25,000 people of your 300,000 people on your page. And are they even the right people? I'm like, I could go spend $7,000 to get in front of over,
whatever
400, 300,000 people that I actually want to get in front of. So I mean, it really is important to spend money, whether it's, $10 a day or $1,000 a day. Either way, if you just start investing somewhere, and it's an investment. It's not an expense. Like, don't look at it as an expense. It's an investment that's going to show a return eventually if you do it consistently enough.
So your Facebook ad, are you trying to drive people then to a landing page, or are you just encouraging them to message, or you click to call? Like, how do you view the lead capture portion?
Yeah, so believe it or not, I've never had a website.
I believe that. I looked it up.
Yeah, we're in the process of building it out right now for Social House, but like, I personally have never had a website.
Right.
So I've never done landing pages. I mean, I probably left so much money and like business on the table by not having a website, but you know, whatever.
It happens.
Hindsight's 20.
So you'll just put them in your DMs basically, or whatever. Okay.
So like, I think it's pretty common knowledge across the industry. Like, I leave the price off everything.
Yep.
And it does piss a lot of people off, but there's a reason for it. I'm not just trying to be an asshole. I'm not trying to get people's information. I don't ask for anybody's information until they like actually say they want to work with me. But the real reason for it goes back to those algorithms, right? So Facebook rewards you for more engagement. Right. So the easiest way to get engagement on a listing ad is to leave the most important piece of information off. That's going to now entice people to say, what's the price?
What's the price?
And we send it literally instantaneously, because we have this chat bot that just as soon as you comment, it's going to send you the price, going to say, hey, Paul, this is for $500K, considering buying a new home this year. And then boom, conversation started.
Yeah.
But the reason for it too is because the more people that comment and engage with it, Facebook is now saying, okay, people like this post. We're going to go show it to more people.
Yep.
And so for us, our goal of running these ads is to do two things: is to do right by our seller and maximize what they can sell their house for. And then how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by getting in front of as many people as possible. And so it all kind of trickles back to that primary goal of just maximizing exposure. And the more exposure you get, the more showings you typically get. More showings leads to more competition and offers, and more offers leads to more money.
Right.
And so that's really like the logic behind leaving that off. And but I mean, as far as like lead management and maintaining my funnel, it's really all done within that Facebook inbox.
Wow. Okay.
And we use a CRM at Social House called Follow Up Boss, and you know, I still admittedly don't really use it. I shouldn't tell my agents that.
Well, that is your CRM. Like, your Facebook is your everything. Right.
Yep.
So
yeah, spot on. I have my old Excel spreadsheet that's pretty robust that I've been building over the years that I'm struggling to get away from. But
yeah,
having a CRM is definitely way better than any type of Excel spreadsheet.
Sure. Absolutely. It's interesting with the market shift that we're going through right now. It's interesting what's happening with the market shift. How do you see your strategy changing or staying the same going forward?
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest push we're making right now is just encouraging our agents to do more, just to make more content themselves.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, when the market pulls back, you know, I can't predict the future, but I'm assuming fewer homes are going to start to sell, or values are going to start to go down. So naturally, income for real estate agents is going to gradually pull back a little bit, you know, myself included, I'm sure. Yeah. Like, I traditionally increase my business probably anywhere from like 20 to 30% a year. Whereas this year it's like relatively flat, which I don't really care. I'm not trying to sell homes anymore anyways.
Right.
I mean, I am, if you're a buyer or seller out there, but like, I have a team now that I'm handing things off to. So yeah, I mean, I think that the social media strategy is going to be great in this slowing market because it's so cheap and because you can still get in front of people. But I do think a lot of agents are going to be grasping at straws here.
Yeah, there's going to be some attrition, I think, for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't think that. I mean, same thing in the mortgage world, same thing in the just real estate in general. I think we're going to see a lot of people exiting the field. How do you? I guess in my mind, in your brokerage, how do you retain your people that are maybe struggling or need help, or are you bringing people on that are struggling and being able to convert them and get them going, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good question. I mean, I think most of our agents, I would say, like, our average agent is like 3 years into the business.
Okay.
But our biggest thing is just like constantly trying to find new ways to add value to them.
Yeah.
You know, we're not just, okay, cool, we offer them a transaction coordinator, some tech, and, you know, some marketing support, and we do more than everybody else, so we're going to call it a day.
Yeah.
You know, we're constantly trying to find new ways. We're, you know, establishing a couple great relationships with some other people that I'll probably talk about more later on in a few weeks or months here.
That's awesome.
But we're constantly trying to build some new technology. So we're building out our tech team right now, going to build our own CRM and a few other pieces of tech that'll be available to our agents, and really just giving them the tools and resources to, you know, be successful from like a branding standpoint and build a brand for themselves. And what I tell everybody that interviews with me is like, I want to give you all the tools and resources to build your own brand to the extent to where if you left Social House, your business won't skip a beat. You know, the only thing that changed is your cover photo on your Facebook page. And so that's really kind of like my whole concept of all of this, is to where I'm going to help you build up such a solid brand for yourself that you're not going to be sitting there wondering where your next lead's coming from ever, because you built this predictable business model of lead gen through social media, and also complementing all these other mediums that, you know, we're having our agents. We have the resources for you to make cold calls. We have Justin Ford, who's probably the best in the business, you know, to train you to do it. So really just starting to dive into different mediums too, and give them the tools and like training and knowledge to be successful at doing that, in addition to the social media stuff. So not just relying solely on that one medium of marketing, and rather
it's everything, right? It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
How patient did you have to be when you started doing all this? Because I think patience is big in this realm of marketing. I don't think things happen overnight, but sometimes people get impatient and they just stop. So talk about your patience in doing all this.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is like I had a bunch of stuff happen that would have like it's essentially led to me not ever becoming a real estate agent, or not staying in the industry anyways. Because when I left Velasquez, so I got my real estate license while I was still at Velasquez, started working there. I actually had another job lined up making like probably 20-30% more. And I was going to go work there when I left Velasquez while I was still building my real estate business up. And I had the job like teed up. I got introduced to them directly through one of their employees. I thought I could just, you know, coast through the interview process, which I did. And then got to this like evaluation standpoint where I was going to be a senior analyst. I was way underqualified for it. And I had to take this evaluation, and like they told me, oh yeah, leave yourself 2 hours. I was doing it at home. They leave yourself 2 hours, all this. And I was like, yeah, whatever. So I gave myself like probably an hour and a half, and I didn't even finish it. Oh, no. And so like I obviously didn't get the job. I had already told Velasquez I was quitting, and that was like March 2015, maybe. I think March 2015, and so I was like, shit, I don't have a job. And from April till August 2015, I didn't make a penny. I didn't sell a single house. I sold like 1 or 2 houses in like January, February. Didn't sell a single house after that until August. And thankfully I was living at home, so it was, you know, it was fine. Right. But I ended up going. But had I gotten that job, looking back, it was going to be an extremely demanding job. I was making, you know, more money than I was making in my other job. Not now looking back, still wasn't, you know, that much money, but probably would have been too overwhelmed with that job to ever really pursue real estate any further than I was, especially without any revenue coming in, you know, from not selling much. And I got really lucky at started looking for like new jobs around like July, August. I wasn't making any money, and had 3 job offers as for senior analyst roles. And the fourth job I was interviewing for was this tech startup in Detroit. And I thought there was no chance I was taking that. I figured startup, like, probably going to pay absolute garbage. Right. And I had my second interview with the CEO, and I told Bob and Brendan, my 2 leaders there, this like after the fact. Had my second job with their CEO on a Monday morning at 8 a.m. And the Chris Brown and Ty Dolla $ign concert was Sunday evening. And I went with some buddies, and I was in a DD, and then my buddy was like, I'll drive. And I was like, all right, whatever. And that's like funny. I ended up getting way too drunk, and probably went to this interview still like not feeling
inebriated great, still,
you know. And so but needless to say, they walk in with an offer letter like, hey, we want you to sign right now. And I'm like, fuck it. Yeah. I literally accepted this offer on the spot. Wow. Probably because I was a little bit, you know, out of my mind at the time still, and like kind of hungover, but ended up being the best decision ever. Like, these guys were absolute geniuses. Like, I learned so much from Brendan from like a sales perspective and branding perspective that, you know, it was hands down the best move I ever made. But had I have either not gone to that interview or taken one of those other 3 jobs again, like, would not be in real estate today.
That's wild.
You know, so there was just a lot of things that really kind of led to that. So from a patient standpoint, sorry, that was a super long-winded answer, but from a patient standpoint, you know, I had to be very patient from the sense of like having to just consistently do the same things over and over again and just trust it was going to work. But I knew it was going to work deep down somehow. And it really took like 8 or 9 months to really build up before I started seeing, once August hit, I think I closed like 6 homes in August, ironically, right after I took that job. And then 2016, I think I probably closed at least 1 home every single month. I closed, like, in my 3rd year, I think I closed 50 units.
Got it.
So,
wow. That's a good 3rd year.
Yeah. And then I quit Velasquez, sold 85 the next year, 80 something the next year, and then started Social House.
That's awesome. So, what are some of the characteristics do you think of an agent in today's world that needs to, like, what characteristics do they have to succeed, you think, going forward into 2022, 23, that they're going to have? What skill set do you think they're going to need to have?
Yeah, I mean the obvious, just like you gotta work your ass off.
Right.
Like, this is not an easy business. I don't care how easy it might look from like the spectator aspect of things. Like, it's not easy. It's easy to see, like, the stuff that like, I know you guys kill it too at Real Team, and it's like you see your top agents doing super well, and you don't see everything that went into it.
Right.
So, like, you have to work your ass off. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. You can't go on the boat every single weekend. You can't go out of town once a month. There's a lot of sacrifices you have to make. And then the other one, I think, is just like, you just have to have this unwavering just self-belief that whatever you're doing is going to work.
That's awesome.
Because if you think that way, you're going to, obviously the work ethic's going to follow that. And I'm a big believer that if you do anything consistently enough, no matter what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to do, like, you're going to be successful.
Yeah. Right.
Because all the other people are going to quit. So if you just don't quit, most people quit right before they kind of hit that lick or, get to that point of success. So really just has to trust yourself, or trust your broker, trust whoever it is that's supposed to be leading you, and understanding that they know what they're doing, and also just have that self-belief. And, when you have the self-belief, it's really easy to wake up every day excited to go do whatever it is.
For sure. That's awesome. Well, we're running out of time, man. So I definitely want to get to 3 questions. We do 3 random questions that we're going to ask you that have nothing to do with real estate, really.
Okay.
Tom, do you have one? I could start. Do you have one?
I don't have one right off the top of my head.
Okay.
No, I do.
All right.
So I'm not gonna get it down to one genre or anything like that. But what if you had to listen to just one band for the rest of your life, or one music artist? Who would that be?
That's a great question.
It's tough.
So my favorite for a while now, and still has been Dermot Kennedy.
Okay.
I don't know if either of y'all ever heard.
I don't know.
No, I don't.
What genre is it?
God, I don't even know how to like categorize it. It's like you probably like some pop and some like EDM vibes behind it.
Okay.
He's just like Irish. He's this Irish guy and just has the most
Dermot Kennedy. We got to look that one up.
Insane voice. It's like, I listen to a lot of very like chill, like melodic.
Yeah.
Sometimes like kind of depressing music. Not a depressed person. I just enjoy
just like to chill.
I just enjoy that kind of music. I'm usually working. It kind of stimulates me and allows me to think. But yeah, I think Dermot Kennedy.
Kennedy. Okay.
My no-brainer go-to.
Now I learned something.
If you were on a deserted island and you could only bring 3 items, what would they be?
Can I like do the normal like iPhone, that type of shit?
No.
3 things on a deserted island. Probably coffee. Something sharp to cut things with, and I mean, if I can't take like a phone, or computer wouldn't be any good. Phone probably wouldn't be any good anyways.
Power.
And then maybe one other person with me.
There you go. That's smart.
Yeah,
really smart.
That's smart. If you had to eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I'd probably just have to go with like something boring, like chicken or steak.
Chicken or steak?
Purely
just protein.
I mean, I would honestly want to say something like pizza or mac and cheese, but I know how. I mean, I've eaten like a disgusting amount of pizza the last 2 years. And, I don't feel great about myself, so I can't imagine if it was only that.
Right now, saying pizza is wrong, right?
Yeah,
but it's really pizza.
Yeah.
Chicken, unbreaded,
if I
non-salted.
Could, like, stay healthy forever, all day, like pizza. Like
pizza.
If it didn't affect my like me gaining weight.
Yeah.
But if I was trying to be like smart.
Yeah.
I think no matter what it was, if you're eating the same thing all the time, it's going to get boring. So might as well go healthy.
Yeah.
If you anything over time,
right?
You do the same thing over time.
You're done with it.
It'll get boring, right? No matter what.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with chicken, so probably chicken.
Yeah, chicken. Yeah, I get it. Dude, tell the audience how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so best way is probably social media. My Instagram's Eric_SocialHouse. And I believe my Facebook page is like at Erik Wright Realtor. I want to say, I should know that. But you can also text me. My cell's 734-620-4736.
Perfect.
But please text.
West Side. Perfect. Man. Listen, man, thank you for doing the show.
Yeah, it was great.
Having you in here is awesome.
Thanks for having me.
You guys are kicking ass, and I'll be interested to see what you guys are doing over the next year or 2 years.
One of the best in the market.
I agree completely.
You guys too. I appreciate you having me.
I completely agree. So that's our show, guys. Thank you for those of you that have listened or stayed in. Obviously, you guys can go to Facebook.com/IRE podcast to see us live. You can go to YouTube. Again, if you stuck with us, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so people don't miss an episode. Other than that, we will see you next week for our 200th episode of the podcast with Mr. Matt Ishbia. Wait, what are we doing?
In 2 weeks. Next week's holiday weekend.
Oh, word. Thank you. Thank you for that, Natalie. So in 2 weeks, we'll be doing Mr. Matt Ishbia with our 200th episode of the podcast. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week. Or no, 2 weeks.
Thanks, boys.
Bye.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate, the nation's top real estate podcast. Don't forget to follow us at irepodcast.com and everywhere where podcasts are available.